G'day guys, it's Michael here, and Michael and Christian with PowerShell 101 with Michael and Christian. Christian's not feeling too well today, so he'll be
Working remotely again.
yeah, working remotely again. So yeah, hello everyone who's watching this. Yeah, we'll get started. But actually before, hey mate, how like, 'cause I haven't spoken to you in ages. Like, what's been happening, man?
Recently went back to TAFE.
Yeah, how's that?
Today, yeah, yeah. So, we went back last week, but what's been happening is we've been covering more on network architecture at the moment, and we've been doing RIP and EIGRP, which are dynamic routing. For those who don't know, it's about dynamic routing through switches and networks.
Is it EIGRP, Enhanced Interior Gateway Routing Protocol?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
I have
And
it
oh, you
written
don't know
down
the
somewhere.
acronyms yet? Oh man, I'm
I,
like,
I wrote it down, but yeah, not too crash shot on them because people just refer to them by their acronyms. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the GRP.
yeah. You
And
got
then
RIP
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 is
v2.
yeah,
Yeah,
routing information
yeah.
protocol.
So RIP and RIP v2 generally not really used nowadays. Even EIGRP is really kind of used in those border sensors, and a lot of them like they're not really used in terms of um in terms of like really big implementations. Like they might be, but most of the time, like when we're using EIGRP, like I've only seen it used once, and that was it. And that was basically like the thing is though, it's like it really like it. You need to have a good reason. So like if you've got multiple networks and you got huge infrastructure that needs it, then yeah, but don't turn it on for the sake of turning it on. Like my network at home, I've got like four or two networks talking to another network via my layer 3 switch, and I'm like, mate, that's not like, yeah, no, I'm not going to be turning on from all these crazy routing technologies just to have that. Like, it's just making things complicated for the sake of
No,
it.
for that you may as well do a
Just
static route.
exactly, static routes are so much better. Like, anyway, and this is actually another thing I was going to mention is that like everything nowadays, I'm pretty sure is all BGP.
From what I was being told, the main industry standard at the moment is OSPF.
OSPF is actually fairly old. I thought OSPF is no longer used. I thought Open Shortest Path First wasn't like I'm just quickly googling it because I thought it was everything went BGP.
Which is the border gateway protocol.
Oh, sorry, no, it's not. Yeah, you might be right. I might be getting confused. Let me OSPF. I thought it got superseded.
Well, it did. It got superseded by EIGRP when Cisco released that to the public because originally EIGRP was Cisco proprietary. However,
It's still Cisco
everyone had all.
proprietary. It's just everyone decided, hey, let's use it, and then go from there.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is when Cisco did go, hey, let's let people use it. People had already been using OSPF, so they're essentially the same from what we were being told, how they handle the information.
Yeah, it's really like the thing is though, like it's you haven't got your hands on Packet Tracer yet, have you?
I do indeed. I love
Oh,
packet tracing.
Packet Tracer, like when you turn on simulation mode and you basically have got like multiple networks and NICs and things like that talking to each other. We could actually even do a session on Packet Tracer because I could actually like take you through a lot of the like because you can do it from a GUI perspective, but then you can actually like if you really want to, you can jump right down the guts. So you can actually jump onto like an emulated terminal and be like config T, start actually configuring Cisco switches via the terminal. So it really teaches you, how to configure VLANs and like that. And the thing is, it's got such good variety, so you can have multiple emulated like systems where you got like you got different 3300 catalysts and 48 ports and from and
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
There's a whole heap in there.
it's
Um,
really good. It's really good.
that's what we've been using
Mm.
for our assignments at the moment.
Yeah.
So the current one is all about static and dynamic routing.
Mm.
So for the first one, we needed to create just two PCs, two servers, feed into two different switches. They're on two
Mm.
different networks into one router. So
Yeah.
that was just the first part to prove that we can actually configure those systems. Then after that, we've got static routing, which is just two computers plugged directly into two routers. And throughout all this, we're also doing VLSM, which is variable length subnet mask, for those who don't know. And for that, all it is just basic math. You pick the most appropriate subnet mask for the amount of posts you require.
So do you know what a /27 is?
/27, that should be 255.255.255.224.
Look at that. That's so good. I'm like, see, this is actually one of the things you're going to hear a lot in the industry is when we talk networks. If I go, oh, okay, that's 10.10.1.1/24, I don't even, like, everyone knows that that's a Class C network. Like, you don't need to
Yeah.
worry. Like, and it's like all you hear, like, like, I don't know why people do this, but people do this. You go 192.168 1.1/16. And in fact, one of the this is just a like a little a networking thing that I found was a gotcha that Wayne put into an exam for when I started at Mercer Community Services was you had to put the subnet mask, and the subnet mask was 172.16.16. Oh no, sorry. They had a network, like a network topology, and up the top there they had 172.16.16. No, 172.16.0.0.
Yep.
And they had a /24 at the end. Now everybody looked at it. Basically, this is what Wayne said it was a Class B network because obviously 172.0 or 172.16.0 or
Yeah,
.0
no,
you would.
that's
But the gotcha is the fact that, well, technically speaking, that is a Class C network because 0 is a valid
address.
is a valid address. So they were like, oh, okay, so yeah. And I was the only person who got that answer right. And I just looked at it. I'm just like, it's a 16. It says it's 6. Oh no, sorry, it's a /32. Oh, sorry,
/24.
/24. I'm like, well, I was thinking 32. I don't know why. Anyway, there's a /24. It's a 24. Like, it's not that hard.
You were thinking 32 because there's 32 bits in a IP address of a
Oh,
subnet mask.
I've got, actually, you reminded me. Wayne gave me this really awesome table that teaches you how to actually like calculate the start and ending addresses, and it's just a
Yep.
straight math table. And you needed an acronym, so you got like IP subnet mask. So it's like IP subnet mask. You put a not value, and then that gives you the starting address, and then you have your ending address. And the way that I memorized the acronym was I must suck and not swallow. And I was like, oh, that's terrible. This is recommended for mature audiences. All right, anyway, yeah, that's pretty much that. Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. I'm always interested in networking. The other day I had to rebuild my UTM. I was a bit gutted about that, so I had to.
So UTM is an acronym I haven't come across.
Oh, that's UTM. It's just basically my router at home. It's called the Unified Threat Management, something like that.
Yep.
Um, it's really good. Like, it's really good. Basically, it's just, yeah, like a really businessy router, data center router. So you got firewall protection, proxying, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably more semester 2 stuff. We haven't really touched on that yet.
I never got a proxy ever. Like, I didn't know any of that until like, I literally, no joke, I didn't know any of that until I actually played around with it. Like, TAFE will probably teach you the fundamentals of networking, so they'll teach you like how to configure a switch, how to configure a router, and it's all going to be like, it's all Cisco. To be honest, that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. The reason why is because, like, Cisco is not the be all end all. There is better products out there. Like, for example, if you ever get your hands on a Cisco Meraki switch, Meraki wasn't owned by Cisco. Cisco bought them. And Meraki is like 20 times better than everything to do with Cisco. So like, Meraki has just really good, like, that's smart, like switching, that's smart. So what you do, for example, you buy a switch, you get a serial number, then you can configure that switch even before it's turned on by putting your serial number, registering it on your tenant, and then once you've registered on your tenant, you can like configure all your ports, configure everything, and it's all done by the web GUI. And then from that, basically, the moment that switch gets plugged in, it'll contact Meraki's site, know that it's on the tenant, and then basically download the configuration to the switch.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like so there's none of this like, and like there's even smarter things like, so a good example is traditional switching rely, like it doesn't have the smarts, or it doesn't really have decent smarts and how to basically understand like high traffic volume, what port is talking too much. Like, well, obviously you can kind of backtrack it. So if you look at an uplink port, that one's going to be quite chattery. Then you've got to go back to the parent switch and the parent switch and the parent switch. But the thing is that like there's no just universal way to be able to do it, and then there's like tools out there that can scale your network and talk to your switches. But the problem is that the logic relies on a machine, which means that like it's missing data, like it's missing network data. So what you can do with Meraki switches is that it's inherently built into the operating system. So when it comes to actually like getting data, like an actual statistics out on what's a top talking the top 10 talking ports, it'll actually be able to drill down immediately. And the thing is that it integrates with firewalls and Wi-Fi like proxies, so you can go to that port, it's that user, and they're browsing that site, doing that thing and doing that and doing that, and they're consuming this much bandwidth, they're talking on those ports. And it's like that's how complete that package is um in terms of yeah, um, what it's capable of doing. But anyway, you're watching on Twitch, aren't you?
No.
Oh, hello viewer. I just saw we have a viewer. Hello. We're just talking about networking, so yeah, it's fun.
Feel free to comment.
Yeah, feel
We
free to
like
comment.
comments.
Yeah, we like feedback on networking. We are going to get started in some PowerShell, so don't. It's just not us nattering. Yeah, but the thing is with Marky is it's got a lot of like a lot of it's just really good. The biggest problem with Meraki, oh, he's gone. The biggest problem with Meraki is the fact that Meraki basically doesn't have, well, it has the worst licensing in the world, like the worst. So like you have to, though, admittedly there's a reason. So if I buy a device, so let's say I buy a Meraki device, the Meraki device might cost $600. The license costs a ridiculous amount. However, with the licensing that you do get though, basically it does cover next day replacements. I'm pretty sure it's basically if the hardware breaks while it's under license, they'll replace it for free. So,
Okay.
but the thing is though, like if like for example for me, I want Meraki in my house. I would like the features that Meraki provide is just ridiculous. Like it has so much granularity that even my UTM wouldn't be able to like handle, like do what it can do. But the biggest problem with Meraki is it's so expensive. So I'm like, um, I'm not interested in it until like the cost of licensing goes down, or at least there's like some sort of home product. Because one of the other things that Meraki does is it plugs into MDM, so you can actually manage mobile phones. You can literally go, okay, where's that mobile phone? You can basically do things like that. So it's like ridiculously powerful, especially for when I got a family and want to hand a phone to a kid. I want to know where she is. So
Oh, exactly,
anyway,
exactly.
let's get started. So let's go jump into the scene. So I think what we basically did yesterday is a good amount. What we're going to probably do today is we're going to basically build an additional script. So we've got API endpoints, we've got PowerShell bot project, we've got C# design, test directory, tests, C#. We need to create a new folder. I'm going to call it PowerShell. What should we call it? PowerShell. PowerShell script. That's really what it is. Right, we're going to build a commandlet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go. Well, we're going to need. Yeah, we're going to. Yeah. So we're going to need to have. We're going to need to have two scripts, but this one we're just going to start it. We're not going to do anything else except start. So what we're going to do is we're going to call it start PS remote job.
Yep.
I think that's pretty
Self-explanatory. That.
pretty, yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like, so what we're going to probably want to do is I'm actually today going to talk to you about the parameter sets. So I know that we're gonna this is gonna be a little bit heavy on for you, but I'm gonna want you to write the code today. So I'm really gonna be pushing you to make these changes, and I'm just going
Right.
to kind of like help you along with it. So I'm just going to send you a link. Parameters. Yeah, actually, no. The best way to describe what a parameter is, all right? This is a really terrible way, but you know how you go jump into command prompt and you type in ping. Actually, no ping. Oh, you got ipconfig all.
Yep.
The slash all in command prompt, it's called an argument. In PowerShell, it's called a parameter. That's the difference. Make sense?
Yeah, and it's got a dash or a hyphen in front of it
Exactly.
instead of a slash.
It's prefixed by a hyphen, and that's mandatory. Every parameter is prefixed by a hyphen. There's no way around it. Like you just can't. Oh, no, you can't. You can't. If you're deliberately putting a parameter in, um, and you want to specify the parameter name, you need to hyphenize it. Now that sounds. I'm being a little bit overly specific there, but I'm gonna explain why. So first things we're going to talk about is parameters. So if you basically jump on Google, and then we just go to, I'm just going to send you the link. Where is it? SS64 I actually like. This is really good. So with arguments and parameters. So I'll just quickly send you this link by Discord. So basically you get child item, path, win environment path, filter, start.dll, recurse, blah blah blah. So anything that's obviously prefixed by hyphen. With a script or function, you can refer against unarmed. Yeah, okay. We're not going to really worry about arguments because we just don't really use them. So if you go down a little bit further down the script, actually, you know what I can do? I can just copy paste this in the code. You should be able to see this, can't you?
Where are you copying it into?
Under PS
PS
start
remote job?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, okay. So obviously you got script parameters, arguments for scripts. That's how we traditionally do things. You can break them down. So if you want to have a parameter like a commandlet on multi-line, so you can see you got get child item, we've got the parameter there, parameter there, parameter there. You can just basically put a backtick to tell PowerShell that it's running on multiple lines. Yep. There's our splats. We're splatting. And then basically we can use arguments. I'm not going to talk about arguments because realistically you just shouldn't be using them. I don't really have any use cases for them at the moment. There might be later in the future, but at the moment there's just no use cases. So what we have is down here under we've got the param, and we've got this nice little what we call a param statement. What a param statement basically does is it actually dictates the parameters that we want to pass into it. So I'm just going to copy. So if you look down there, you define the arguments by name, you use the params, some comma separated by variables, blah. It's pretty straightforward. Note, however, that they're defining the type. So you've got string, and then you have this one called switch. Switch is awesome. Switch is basically the better way of doing things. So you know how we're talking about Boolean? Back in when you have a Boolean, you get it either is true or false. Within a function, so within a commandlet, it's kind of counterintuitive if you want to have to manually specify true or false. It's kind of, in essence, it's dumb. What a switch does is it's basically if you specify the parameter, so the parameter in that instance on line 52 is save data. If you specify the parameter save data, the value will be true. But if you don't specify the parameter, it's going to be false. So in this instance, where it's got their save data is equal to false, completely ignore that. That just does that does not apply to a switch statement. The switch statement basically means if it's specified, it's true. If it's not, it's false. It's actually the only statement out there that naturally naturally equates to false. Everything else in PowerShell naturally equates to true, but in this instance it's not. If it's not specified, it's false. And the reason why is because it just doesn't exist. That's pretty much the reason why it's null. It just doesn't exist. So yeah. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to delete that. And we're going to grab some parameters. So first thing we need to do is we're going to write a function. So functions are basically in PowerShell are realistically they're reusable blocks of code. They're basically just nested blocks of code which you can call. Think of them as like you got like a nice little compartment of code where you want to, when you want to run that specific piece, you can just basically call it with one line. That's pretty much how commandlets work in PowerShell. They're basically either functions in PowerShell or they're methods in C#. Excuse me.
Okay.
I'm really tired, but we'll keep going. So to create a function, you denote it by the function name. Now, after that, basically you're specifying what the function is to be called. So this is the name of the function. So in this instance, the name of the function will be called start PS remote job. So I'm just going to write a quick syntax for you. It's going to be function, name of function, and then realistically you have what we call, you know how we're in a method, you can specify the parentheses. Now, when you actually specify the parentheses, you can actually, remember how we created classes, we created methods in classes earlier?
Yeah.
And we did like, var1, var2, var3, that kind of thing. We could actually specify the variables, and then we basically, when we call them, we could go like, would go, method, then, var1, var2, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So,
Just quick aside at the moment.
mm,
I've got Start PS Remote Job open in an editor, but it's not refreshing, not showing your changes.
really?
Really.
Did you drop out of live?
No, I'm still in there. It's odd.
Hang on. What are you? I'm just going to follow with you. Okay, can you scroll down?
I've only got one line showing in Start PS Remote Job.
What's that? Function name of function?
No, it's blank.
Ah, okay. I'll get you to. I'll get you to disconnect and then rejoin. I just kicked you
Okay.
out. I'll get you to rejoin.
How could you?
Sacrilege.
Gotta love those technical difficulties, people.
Yeah.
You want me to reattempt that?
Yeah. I was totally like looking at other things and I wasn't paying attention. Sorry, I get you to rejoin.
No, it just said you'd blocked me.
Did I? I didn't even do anything. I actually wasn't paying attention. Must have timed out. Can you try and join again?
Doing it now.
Okay. Come on, join. Don't get distracted.
No, joining collab. The host has blocked you. Perhaps a new link?
Yeah, okay, I'm just going to send you a new link. I just copied a link, sent it to you now. It looks like it's the same link. Might need to restart VS Code.
Me?
No, me. Maybe
Okay.
both of us, but is that not working as well?
No.
Okay, I'm just going to restart it. Okay, see if we can get a new link. Starting collaboration session. creating a link, sending to. Okay, that's a new link. Yep, perfect. All right, just accepted that. You should pop in. Yep, bingo.
Oh,
All right,
there we go.
cool.
Beautiful.
So you see how we had that var1, var2, var3 kind of thing?
Yep.
Yeah, that's basically like that's the, like you can actually specify your variables in there. You can do that for some functions, and the function behaves more like a method, like we created in like an actual method rather than a function. Oh, sorry, it behaves more like a method rather than a commandlet. But we want it to be a commandlet because we're actually going to be calling it with PowerShell. So what we can do here, import CSV stuff. Oh, we're just going to steal this. Oh, actually, no, that's completely random. It's another person's. It's another person. That's a piece of code I was working on for another live stream. So what we can do here is I'm just going to grab this. So you can see I've denoted it by the param statement. But what
Yep.
I'm doing is in each of these is you see every value is basically comma separated. So basically what you can do is you can pretty much bring them all, like think of them as this is how it would kind of look like if it was a single line. I spaced them out just because it's easier to read. So within this, you basically have the parameter. You're defining the parameter. So here
Yep.
we're defining what type of parameter it is. I highly encourage you. See if I can find it. There's a actually no. That link that I sent you is really good. So if you go back to the link, you can have a look at afterwards. We can do it afterwards. It talks about like what kind of options you have in what attributes you can specify. So you can specify, is it mandatory? Are we wanting to accept the values from the pipeline? And what I mean by that is, you know how you've got get child item,
Yeah.
and then we pipe to, like for example, remove item. We have that piping
Yep.
capacity. That's what that allows. That actually you can actually automatically pass that output into this. So those are the parameters that those options, those attributes are allowing you to do those kinds of things. You can obviously specify. I'm not going to talk about the pipeline much because that's a little bit over your head at the moment. But it just allows you to do a lot of extra things. There's an extra little thing I'm going to quickly touch on is this little item above this attribute called commandlet binding. And what this does, it sits above it. When we're going to actually put it in because we're going to need it. It transforms our function into what we call an advanced function. So a normal function is basically just something that you call code over and over again. It's just doing something. If you want to make that, if you want to add extra capacity to the function, you can put parameters in there. And then after that, if you want to make it an advanced functions allow you to use those what if, verbose, those really crazy the confirm statements, things like that in your function. And the reason why you have that is so that you can basically in this I can actually specify what we call the impact of this function. Is this a high impact function? Well, if it is, PowerShell knows automatically that basically it will prompt when you specify when it needs to prompt. So you're not having to deal with all that kind of code. Oh, writing an "Are you sure?" PowerShell will do that for you automatically, and it will handle it out while you're in the pipeline. So it's a better way of managing what kind of like your confirms and your what ifs and things like that. We're going to add it just because I want verbose qualities to our function, but basically, yeah, same thing. That's a big gotcha because by default, if I do a write verbose, it's not turned on. I actually have to manually switch it on.
Yep.
By enabling the commandlet binding, and I'm enabling the verbose parameter. So I'm adding that verbose parameter to my function. And because I've added the verbose parameter, I can now do a write verbose. So it's just a little gotcha there. But anyway, So the next item here, so I'll just quickly break this down for you in terms of parameter in like a comment structure. Let's do this. Oh, don't tell me it's not gonna.
It's the other way around.
Oh yeah, I always get this confused. I don't know why. I always get confused. So what you have is you generally have obviously your parameter attributes. So this is just for one parameter. Keep this in mind, okay? I'm just going to put in parentheses around it so you know that it's just for one parameter. So you have your parameter attributes. Following that, that's always encased in a square bracket, and that always is denoted by parameter, and then attribute name equals value. Once you've done that, you have what we call script validation, or parameter validation, not script validation. And this is something that was a godsend. So just give you a bit of context. Back in the day of VB scripting and batching, let's say, for example, a user put, for example, a number in when they should have put a string in.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that's a bad example because you can obviously we can specify type. That's a bad example. Let's say they wanted to they put something in that shouldn't have been put in. It was weird. Like it's something weird. So if you've asked for a computer name, they've given you like, the computer name is Barry, but they've misspelled Barry. Okay. So we need to validate. This was parameter validation is really quite cool. So you can actually run pre-PowerShell code to validate, does that parameter meet the requirements before being passed in. It's really good because you can validate your parameters. So in this instance, I've got an allow null. So what that, in this instance, we're not going to use this, but if we go back to our other function here, which was test object property, what that basically says is it says, hey, even if the object is null, because it's an object that we're passing in, even if the object's null, just accept it. Just bring it in, I don't care. And then what I'm doing down here is I'm basically saying if the object's null, then obviously it doesn't exist. While we're doing that, I'll keep cracking on here.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So basically, it just means that you can do pre-function code. So you can there's a whole bunch of them. Like I'm not going to go through them all today because that's just not something we have time for. But it's definitely worth checking because it means that like if you're wanting to validate things or doing things, it's better putting it up in there, especially when you don't need to there's no point reinventing the wheel and adding functionality when it doesn't need to be added. Like that's all what PowerShell is against. It's trying to basically improve people's scripting experiences, and using like parameter validation and things like that would actually be able to validate better. There are some caveats to that, but that's just obviously yeah, you have to work around them. So obviously after that, then you have your type, so your object type or your type, and then you have your parameter name. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to say we're going to have value as true. We're not going to allow nulls. I'm just going to clean this up. String is going to be in the parameter name we're going to call is, if we quickly go back to our whiteboard, Actually, no, we know it. So if we go back to here, it's this. So we're going to basically say it's, yep. So what we're going to need here is we're going to need these. So we're going to need our computer name and our code. So we might as well add them now.
Yep.
Our computer name. We're going to have a string of code. I don't expect you to fully understand this, but it's always just good to be exposed to, because you lay down the line, you're gonna want to use it. Like, if you are going to use it, there's another thing. Don't do this. Like, I'm gonna tell you now, it drives me absolute bananas when people just go var1, var2. Like, if you're gonna do that, just chuck it up in the top there. One thing you actually noticed, do you see how I'm not actually including the parentheses up the top there? Like, if you have a function or anything else in a scripting language, most of the time you have to define it like this. You might not even have anything in it, but you still have to define it like this. If you're using functions, you don't even need it. Like, functions. If you're using parameters, you don't need it. So we've got a computer name. We're going to have our PowerShell script. What we're going to do here is we're going to actually use a type called script block, which is we're going to accept. So we can actually pass PowerShell into.
Okay.
So this is really cool. Like, so you know how like we can write PowerShell here. Can you see my just seeing if you can. Yeah, you should be able to see can you see the shared terminal? So if you go to the PowerShell integrated console, you can see I've did a right host hello world.
Yep.
So watch this. So if I can actually denote as a script block, so variable like we traditionally do, and then I go like so, you can see it just looks like a variable. But then when you do a get member on it, we have an invoke. How cool is that? You can store code as a variable.
That
just blew your mind. Like, you're like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Just roll with it.
Yeah, like that... so, and this is really cool because what it means, because if you think about it, if I wanted to pass like physical write PowerShell into the code, the way that I would have to do that would basically be to like write it as a string, but then you have all these issues with trying to deal with it, like, well, like let's say you got a string. This is you got your string, and I'm going right host hello world. Well, that's going to break because you've got multiple like strings, so you have to like escape sequence things, and I'm just like, or you can just take a shortcut and use the script block object type. The script block type, and then just pass PowerShell into it. Like, we're not executing it locally, we're executing it remotely. We don't care as long as the thing is, and it works for us as well because it's natively in its natural state. It's a bit like, taking an elephant from Africa, but then like cutting out like 4 miles of acre, 4 miles of its reserve with it. Like, it doesn't. You don't have to worry about anything because it's in its natural state. So that's a really bad example, but you kind of get
I understand exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So anyway, so we've got our computer name, we've got our PowerShell script, and we need one more, which is our URL endpoint.
So where you've put PowerShell script up there,
Hmm.
under validate the input, does that then have to change the request body properties you've entered? Under the script block, you've put PowerShell script. Would
Yeah.
that change that to PowerShell script?
Ah, no. No, 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 no. So what we do here, so this is remember this code I just pinched from the server
The
side.
other side,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're gonna recast this. Like we'll clean it up a bit. I just wanna like the reason why I'm saying PowerShell script on this side is I want it to be as descriptive to the person who's interacting with it as possible.
Yep.
So what we can do here now, I'll just quickly show you. We can actually execute this. So if I start debugging, that's compiled. And if I actually go start PS remote job, you can see there's our parameters.
Yep.
How cool is that? Like that's all we need to do. And we've defined the position, we've defined they're mandatory, they need to exist. So for example, if I don't specify all of them, it'll be like you're missing an argument, sort your life out. So this is really where the parameters come into their forte. All right, let's enough blubbering about all that. Let's get stuck into some actual code now. So what I need you to write is I need you to basically build me a splat a hash table or variable that we're going to splat into invoke rest method. So what I'm going to quickly do is we're going to need, just FYI, I want you to do a quick get member. Oh, what are we going to need for invoke rest method? We're going to need the URI. Yep, that's all we're going to need. We need method, URI, and body. We're also going to need to sort out our TLS stuff. I will do that. So what I need you to do is build me a rest a parameter a hash table with those parameters.
Yep.
The values we'll basically get to after that, but basically keep in mind the URI. We'll do that. Yeah, we'll just do that. The URI will pass natively into it. The other two will basically go inside the body. The method will be a post. It won't be a get. It's going to be a post. So those of you, while you're doing that, I am going to go and add some extra code to support TLS 1.2 just in case we have issues there. So
Right.
while you're doing that, I'm going to unfollow you so you're not, and I want you to unfollow me so you're not seeing me yambering around. And
Yep.
I will go deal with that. Jordan actually wrote some really good code to support TLS 1.2. I'm just going to go back through Slack and find it. I actually use it all the time now. it's just really good. Like it's really good code. Just gonna quickly go find Jordan's. That's Jordan Boreen's code. Yeah. Oh, oh. Oh, I just saw awesome South Park 4-point plan to any sort of business success. Start up, cash in, sell out, bro down. I'm like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Speakers, no, what am I scripting? Help, that's what I'm under. Oh, actually, did you see that post by Matt? It's really good. So you can actually use get clipboard to get items from the clipboard. So if you copy something in clipboard and you want to rip it out, you can get it. I was like, that's so cool. That just blew my mind. Like, blew it. Like, mega blew it. Oh, that sounds super sexual now, but you guys get it.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. Like, it's just like, that's really cool.
Stop while you're ahead, Marco.
Yeah.
You're
I'm
confusing
not going to talk about
confusing me and everyone else.
I was going to say I'm not going to talk about water cooling because that's just full of like innuendo.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably gonna do this all wrong. So.
Oh, I want you to do it, and then we'll go back and fix it anyway. Like that's fine.
Those are properties. Properties don't go there.
So remember,
So
hash table.
what's?
We're hash tabling it.
Yeah, no, I remember that, but it's I remembering how to do hash tables. I know it's key value. You put an @ symbol at the front, right?
Where did we put our objects? Did we actually? Oh, we didn't actually. Oh no, I didn't commit the code. I thought I did.
Yeah, I went looking for it too.
So
Quite.
remember, so you don't be afraid to Google it either. Like go and have a look. Like so you want to Google hash table.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah.
I've got it.
Yeah, like it'll take you 2 seconds worth of work. Like, and then you'll be like, oh yeah.
So what was the object meant to be called? Computer name or?
We're gonna call it. It's a parameter object. Oh, sorry, it's a parameter hash table. So we're gonna call it params. So we're gonna do some splatting. Remember, it's a variable. It's not a statement.
Yeah. So like that instead.
Yep. Do that. I am going. To start writing some code here.
Okay, so that's a statement.
Oh man, that was the one thing I was thinking about the other day was capital gains, man. Jeez, common labor and capital gains. Anyway.
Yeah. I managed to see some of the leaders debate, as they called it, the other day. And I was just shaking my head the other time at what they called the debate, because I just couldn't see it as such.
Well, the thing is at the end of the day, though, I'm like, yeah, I can see what they're trying to do, but yeah, I think as well though they're kind of like they are hurting other people as well. So, anywho, yeah, try and we're gonna try and oops, I'm just kind of like while you're doing that, yeah.
Yes, okay. I was missing an equals.
Yep. Oh, sweet. Yep, nice. Okay, so I want you to set the URI, and I want you to set.
What is the URI?
The URI protocol. Oh, the URI variable. Remember how we specified it in the param block up the top? Position number 2.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just putting in 2.
No. But you need to specify the variable name. So $URI. Yeah. So if you want to reference that variable, we specify a $URI. So we're not splatting. That's an app. Yep.
Wrong button.
Yep. All right. So we're going to make this a post like so, and then we're going to define the body. So this is one of the really cool things about PowerShell. You see what I just did?
It's another hash table.
Yep, I can start stacking them up. So this is the body of our request that we're sending now to whatchamacallit. Sorry, I'm just having a massive memory blank. This is the body of the request, or the HTTP request that we're sending to our Azure function. So what we're going to do here is we're basically going to we're going to now, remember how we had our objects here that we've defined in HTTP local send? We had, just quickly scroll down.
We had a return object and SQL params, as well as the GUI. GUID.
I want to look at the test objects. So you see how on local send we've got 214, and we're looking at test object property request body, and we're looking at the computer name and code. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do there. So this is where we're going to get to do some really cool stuff. We're going to basically do some PowerShell inline stuff, which is going to be really quite cool. We're also going to need, while you do that, I'm going to get you to add those 2 properties. I'm just going to have a quick look at this code and see how it's bringing it back. There's the code. It's just passing it straight through, which means we'll need to serialize it on the client side. Okay, so I'm going to need to serialize it. It's the best. Yep, perfect. So what do you think the computer name would be?
Um, well, it would be a string.
Oh,
So,
no, it's a variable. We got a variable. We can pass the variable
ah,
straight into it.
um, well, local, because you got local and remote. So,
I want you to have
or
a,
will,
it'll be the parameter that we just specified. So it'll be the parameter. I'll get you to have a look at that. Um,
oh yeah, again, calling an object.
yep, that's fine. So once you've done that, what we can do is we can basically now go to, we got our code. This is something I want you to have a think about. Like, so we're sending this code over the internet. So we're going to start to think about how we need to serialize this code. And what I mean by serialize is we need to convert it to a plain text format that is able to be converted back into PowerShell
Well,
natively.
that's why we chose the to and from JSON.
Yep. So let's try that, eh? Let's actually try and convert PowerShell to JSON and see what happens. The first thing I think would personally is if we go down to the integrated, so we still got my variable. What's it called? Variable. Yep. So we got my variable, which is it's a script block. This is what we're accepting. So this is where we can kind of have a bit of a mess around and work around. We can convert. I don't think this is going to work, to be honest. That just worked. That just blew my mind. So we can actually pass the entire object. Would I do that? Oh, that's a tough one. Should I pass the entire object? No, because I'm thinking about the other side. So we kind of got to think about now. We've got the service on the client side the server side that will execute this. So it's going to get that object and it could actually just pass it. Now, we could serialize the entire object and then just send it. But realistically, I don't think we need to. I think we can just serialize the code itself. So inside of variable, so remember this is the script block. We've got
Yeah.
actually got a two string method. What's this one? Hang on, give me 2 secs. Okay, so we have this two string. This allows us to convert it to string and preserve the integrity. That's fine. So then we can convert that to JSON, but I'm worried that JSON. I'm worried that basically it's not. There might be issues. Hello viewer. Um, it's good to see you. Hope you stick around. So I think what we might do there. I'm like. So this is what I'm kind of humming and hawing. I'm not sure. Like, should I encode it as base 64? Like, so what I mean by that is basically translating the code so that basically g'day Anthony, um, translating the code so that it's basically, I wouldn't say it's so that it can be transmitted without any issue. So what do you think? Should we like we can try not like I think it's going to have issues. Like personally, I wouldn't do it that way. I'd basically use base 64. Especially when we're storing it in a data. Yeah, no. Sorry, we are going to need to encode it as base 64. Though power, yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm just humming and hawing at the moment because um, SQL databases on the server side will be able to store that. Like that there's no issue with it. Because it's capable of storing JSON. Like it can actually convert, which is really weird, but it actually can convert that row into an object in SQL. But I don't particularly really want it in there as JSON. I actually prefer it as a sorry, I don't want the I don't think having it in there as JSON would be a better idea. I think having it in as yep, we're going to do base 64. So
Okay.
yeah, the only reason why is just because it's a better way of maintaining it. So one thing I'll show you is I'll quickly again go to my snippets. Give me a few moments. I'm just gonna go grab some code. I just need to grab some code. I've literally like this is the problem. I got code lying around everywhere, and I'm gonna go hunt for it. Um, so my idea here is to convert it. So I've wrote a function which can convert to base 64 and back, which is really what we need. Let's quickly open the IC. I need to kind of have a look at the code first because obviously I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. I think it will. Oh, that's perfect. Future Michael, or past Michael's thinking of future Michael. Oh man, this is really terrible code though. Like, this is not how I structure my code. Anyway, so we're gonna just quickly drop these functions in here. Yeah, we'll just drop them in here. Who cares? YOLO. Escape string. Did I just say YOLO? Oh god. I'm sorry,
Uh,
Anthony. I'm sorry if you leave. um, so what we can do here is I'm just gonna step back the I'm just gonna bring it back in line and then tab that out. Oh, it's already tabbed out. So you can see further up I've just added these two functions and what they do is they convert to and from using a string. They convert to and from base 64. Now you see how we've got this kind of goes back to the olden days of um, computing, is you had different ways of representing characters. So you had what we call UTF-8. You've got ASCII. ASCII's the most common. You have ANSI. I think I've missed a couple, but basically what it means is the best way is you jump in command prompt. Actually, you can just hit Alt 10. Yeah, so you can see how if I press the Alt key, I can give it a 32-bit number. So like Alt 54, and that will generate a corresponding character associated with it. Now, depending on the type, depends like what we call the encoding type depends on the character. So you have, for example, ASCII, you have UTF-8, and so on and so forth. So in this instance, we're using UTF-8, and the reason why we use UTF-8 is over ASCII. This is something I've learned the hard way. I've been working a lot with JavaScript, and JavaScript only, if you're converting to what we call base 64, you're converting under the UTF-8. You're not converting under, you can't specify any other type. So it's easier just to write and maintain the standard of UTF-8 across all your code than it is to actually use, ASCII or something like that. So what we got here is let's quickly execute this. We can actually F5 this. This is fine. So if I quickly save this and just hit F5, oh, we've got a bug.
yeah, it's after code.
Okay, what we can do there is we can just clean that up there like that. We can actually convert things to base 64. So we can go, this is a string, base 64, and there's a base 64 representation of what that string is. And what base 64 really is it's just basically a way of encoding your encoding a string. I'm ready. I'm just trying to find the right words in a way that you can understand. I'm just trying to think the best way. The best way of the best way to describe what a base 64 encoding is pretty much it allows you to transmit information over the internet or re-encode a specific object type as a string, but in another as a let's say as like a different numbering system, because that's not the best way to describe it. Let me quickly Google what the rep thing is, because I just, yeah, base 64. Wikipedia will tell us what it is. Here we go. Base64 is a similar binary to text encoding scheme. There we go. That represents binary data of a string format by translating it into a radix 64-bit representation. Okay, that makes no sense to you whatsoever, does it?
No, it makes sense.
Okay.
But I don't know what radix is.
Yeah, it's just basically like a type. It's like a string to integer. It's just a specific way of representing that value. So the best way to describe it is it's a type, or even a schema in essence. Yeah. So it's very useful. Put it that way. It's very useful. Base64 encoding. So as you can see, we basically encoded this as a string as base64 encoding. And if I actually take that, you can see if I copy that and then paste that and convert back, it breaks because I actually need to denote that as it's a string. It re-encodes it as a string. One of the things you can see is got those equals on the end. Equals, the way that the base64 is encoded, it's actually encoding, because it's a binary to a text encoding. It basically is doing specific, like it's maintaining a what we call like a specific structure internally to that string. So that base64 encoded string. So the equals at the end basically add padding to, like, it's a bit like adding extra zeros to the end of it to complete a what we call as a decimal value. So so rather than tweak your not triggering, rather than having, like, let's say 100, but the thing is but you have extra space on the end that you need to have extra space, you basically add those two extra zeros. So it's just what we call padding. Oh, I got another call from another person. Yeah, I keep getting calls from everybody.
They just know you're streaming.
Yeah, they're probably going to stop streaming. So anyway, so what we're going to do here is we're going to basically base64 in the code. So as you can see by my examples, I want you to, in that variable code, I want you to base64 encode that item.
Using the pipeline?
Yep, you pop it right in the pipeline, because that's really what PowerShell's for.
Just like that?
Yep. Now I want you to pass the variable that we're going to convert. We've got 3 new voice messages. Who tried calling me the other day? Just trying to work out who it is. No. No idea who that is. So we want that variable that we pass in the pipeline, the PowerShell code variable, we want to put that in where the string is.
So as that?
Perfect. Yep. All right. Now the final thing is, oh, we might even need to specify the content type. We won't. So the final thing that we need to do is we need to convert the body to be base64. We need to convert the body now to JSON, because the body of the request, when it gets sent to the Azure function, needs to be JSON. So how are we going to do that?
Can we pipeline it again?
We may. That's a definite hint. You're on the right path.
Like that?
Nope. You're very close.
Or
remember, what are we converting it to? We're converting it. We're not converting it to base64.
Oh, sorry, yeah, no, JSON.
Yep. Yes. There we go. Done. So now, this is the really cool part, is we've actually completed our body. So, what we're going to do now, just clean that up a bit. I'm going to now get you. I'm actually just going to put that up at the top of the code. We're going to have to wrap it up in about 20 minutes too, FYI.
All good.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to use the try catch statement to invoke a REST request to an Azure function. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use try and catch. So similar to, I think we talked about try catch, didn't we?
Yes, but
Okay.
I don't recall much of it.
Okay, so PowerShell handles two types of errors. We've got terminating and non-terminating errors. Terminating
Yep.
errors basically cause the PowerShell script, the PowerShell pipeline to fail. AKA the script will fail out. It's designed so that if there's what we call a terminating error, the script will stop running, or the function
Yep.
or the pipeline will stop running. It's really important because basically there's times when you want to fail it for specific reasons. If there's a critical error, things like that, you want to stop the script. In other circumstances, you have non-terminating errors. Non-terminating errors are basically errors that can potentially, like for example, when we ran get child item, and within get child item we had some files that came back that said access denied.
Yeah.
But they were errors. They came back as red. They were errors. They were errors on the error stream, what we call errors on the error stream. They were what we call non-terminating errors. Non-terminating errors are basically their error. That's something that needs to be raised to the user, but it's not something that's going to break the functionality of the script and therefore cause catastrophic damage, or it's not a it's an error, but it's not a critical error.
Yeah.
So the way that we handle, let's say we're doing, for example, something that we want to actually handle, whether it's producing a terminating error. So for example, if we run the commandlet invoke rest method, it will produce a terminating error if we don't put the correct URI in. It will produce a terminating error if we get a bad response. It produces a terminating error on anything. It's basically designed, it will just throw terminating errors on anything. For us to be able to handle that, what we do is we wrap it inside a try catch statement. So the code itself will go inside the try block. Like so. And when it's inside that try block, PowerShell knows that it's able to, that it's what we call it's a tentative state. And so what it means is that if it was to produce a terminating error, realistically, it's any sort of code that runs inside a script block, because realistically, it's a script block.
Yeah.
Think of it as a PowerShell script block, like what we did before. Anything that runs inside that causes a terminating error won't terminate. However, what it will do is it'll get brought down into this statement here, called the catch. And this is really good because we can handle things like we can handle, oh, okay, like, oh, it's an error because the service is too busy at the moment. Let's try again in 30 seconds. So we can tell, we can say to PowerShell, have a snooze for 30 seconds and then have another go. And we can wrap that inside a do statement to be able to, have what we call an exponential back off and retry process. So that's really that's the reason why we use try catch statements. Now there is an extra statement there called finally. Finally is not really used. Finally basically means irregardless of whether the try statement is launched or the catch statement, it will run the finally code. However,
Yep.
realistically, if you are failing out here, or you're not terminating here, the next line after that, so for example, if it's 270 here, it's going to get executed anyway. So it's kind of like it's one of those ones where it really depends on the situation. If it's needed, a finally statement should be added. However, if it's not, there's no point adding something there for the sake of making it look good, because it's just wasting code. It's not needed. So in this instance, I want you to splat the parameter onto invoke rest method, which is on line 264.
This is testing my memory. I'm probably getting this wrong.
I'm gonna be honest. Don't be afraid of
Yep.
Google. Don't be afraid of Google, because at the end of the day, though, Google's a resource that's going to help you. We've covered it. Even that link that I sent you to SS64 actually has the information on it. Just FYI. So that SS64 link has that specific information. But
Okay.
like I'm not gonna like I'm
Yeah, no, I'd rather try it first,
yeah.
and then you can just simply state,
Well, the
no,
thing
you need to redo it.
Yeah, the thing is that like at the end of the day, for example, Google's a resource. This is the biggest thing for for anyone watching is that like I don't have an issue with anyone watching like using Google as a resource. I do have an issue where there was a person that said to me at an Ignite conference said, "Mate, I don't know why we need automation people. Basically, with all the codes up on the internet anyway, I could just copy and paste the code." And rule number one with me with any sort of PowerShell is the fact that you do not run PowerShell that you don't understand. Um, and that goes again also to production code. So if someone basically wrote a really nice piece of production code, to connect to this service and do this and do this and do this, however, you don't understand a bar of it, well, you are kind of, shooting yourself in the foot because what's going to happen in the future is that basically when you actually need to come and support that code, you're not actually going to understand the logic and you could be introducing a bug that you don't fully understand. So it's something that I'm quite passionate about. If I don't understand the code, I'm going to do everything I can to basically fully understand it. So I'll pull
Yeah.
apart the code and actually understand. So anyway, keep going. Did you work out what the splat value would be?
I'm just reading through it at the moment. From what I can see, you actually use parameters instead after invoke REST method, meaning that you would put the
Hello, Twitch viewers.
um
Remember, we're splatting. We're not calling the commandlet. We're splatting into the commandlet.
ah
No, no, no,
that
no,
that's
no,
not
no.
that's not splat.
Nope.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
You don't know? Okay, cool. That's
No.
fine. That's fine. So when you're splatting, remember we define the at. So remember we're just dumping that variable, this variable param.
Yep.
We're just going to dump it in, and we're going to specify the at, and then do that.
Oh.
So remember how, so we define remember these are the parameters here on 250, 251, 252. Those are our parameters. So we've got our post, we've got our URI, we've got our body. But basically, rather than us having to manually specify, because remember how we like, because otherwise we'd have to do this. We'd have to go method, URI, body. But rather than having to do that, we've actually just built the parameter set out here. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, cool. So
It does.
what we're going to do here, we're just going to do a non-terminating error, and I'm just going to do that. I don't know why, because realistically, what I would personally, if I was doing some sort of production code or anything like that, if I was wrapping and try catch and doing invoke REST methods and things like that, I would actually be using this catch statement. There's one of the guys wrote a really cool function called getError. His name's Chris Mill. I use it all the time. It's one of actually the best pieces. Like his logging code, I just love. Like I think it's really good. So all you do is you can just type getError when you have the functions called, and then you just pass the $_. Now in this instance, $_ is actually the error that's been called. So you're actually getting the error from the invoke REST method, which is really good because basically I'm just saying when you just type getError and then pass it through, what it's doing is it will write you this stack trace error and a ton of information about it. So in one line, I have a whole bunch of information about that error. And now I actually tend to actually write more information on top of that because generally speaking, I like to know, what was the object passed in, what was, and usually what I'll do is I'll actually take the object that I was running. So in this instance, the parameter, and I'll actually convert that entire object into JSON. So this entire object into JSON, and then I'll write that into a text file so that basically when I'm debugging it and I go, okay, I need to copy that object into PowerShell and work out what's going on there, I can actually reproduce the issue. And it helps you like from a logging perspective, it's really good. But anyway, that's pretty much that. So what we can do now, we haven't actually got the Azure function set up. So um, we might leave it there for today. Actually, no, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Just do it. Let's set up the Azure function. So we've got the code. I think I've
You reminded me of the "You Can Do It" sale.
what's this? What's the guy's name? He's like, just do it. I was like, yeah, that feels like me right now. So let's deploy the HTTP local send to an Azure function. Let's see if this opens up. Copy function URL. Do I get a URL? Actually, having a quick squiz. Sorry, give me 2 secs. I'm just kind of. I think I've got my remote. That's really cool. Okay, cool. So I've got my remote bot, which is not really doing anything. So that's yeah. There's no. It's actually not like that. We have no endpoint to actually execute code on. So, but what we can do. Oh, don't tell me I can't open it. Really? Do I actually have to deploy it to it? Oh yeah. This drives me bonkers. Stuff it. Oh, I can connect to a GitHub repository. I'll do that later. I'm just going to manually deploy it. Good old Edge. Good old Edge. Man has been found guilty of using a bomb to bring in. Oh, why does that surprise me? Just going to jump on my Azure tenant and then quickly deploy the code so that we can actually at least have something. The code on the server side will probably break. Like I'll tell you now, like it'll probably break catastrophically. But at least we have something to test against.
Okay.
So what we can do, let me just jump. Bris Park. Rescroll script.
If anyone from overseas is watching, we get all the good news here in Australia.
Yeah.
And if you've heard that tidbit Michael just shared. And our politicians are fantastic.
Oh, both sides of the parties are fine. Yeah. Well, let's not discuss politics. Let's keep it PowerShell. So Boost Park remote bot. Just trying to grab my PowerShell so I can. I probably actually did copy the PowerShell. I just kind of like being. Oh no, I didn't. Oh, there we go. So just gonna send that right there. Save that. I love the PowerShell script in the Azure function. It's called run. I'll quickly drag it over. It's called run.ps1. I'm like, how terrible is that? It's so trash. Um, uh, Also, Edge is terrible for Azure. I just use it because I don't have to log in. I'm so lazy that I'm just don't want to log in. So what we got here is I've just built this function. This was in our last section where we are accepting a request via computer name code. We're basically going to send a response back with a GUID. And we're basically adding a entry into a SQL database.
Yep.
However, that's not going to work. And then from that, basically, what we're going to have on the other side is we're going to have another Azure function, which a C# function can pull or poll. So basically, that polling mechanism will say, "Hey, I'm computer blah. Do you have any scripts for me?" That basically Azure function will do an SQL lookup, have a look at what's available if there's any, send the data down. That service C# service will execute it and then send responses back to another API Azure function. So we can actually do a full cycle in terms of execution completely remotely over the internet. So this is basically actually really cool. So what we've got there now is let's save that. I just need to configure my function to make sure that we have I think that was the API. It's enabled. I'm not going to monitor it because I know it's going to fail. All I want to do is be able to hit it at least once. Triggers, yep. So we've got a HTTP request as a trigger. Our input is going to be. Oh, okay. We're not going to use any of those. We're just going to pass it the request. So what we're going to do here. Test. Yep. Query. Where do I get the URL? Haven't been doing this for ages. Like usually, cause usually you can find the route. Like I can't remember where you can find the route in. Oh, there it is, right there. I'm just having a man look. So I'm just gonna use that one. Oh, it is right. That was the one I copied. Okay, so this is our URL here, down on 270. That's our URL. So what we can do now is we're actually going to now talk to Azure using that. So let's fire it up. I'm going to get you to write some. I'm going to get you to write the PowerShell because I'm not going to be the one that was going to break it. I'm going to give you a rewrite.
Sounds like fun. I like breaking things.
Just don't do anything that breaks my file system. You got rewrite
Get child item or C drive recurs.
Like Michael is offline. Michael is offline. I'll be like, I'm coming to your house right now. And you'd be like, shit. Anyway.
Thank goodness they moved, right?
I'm like, yeah, it's Michael. I'm just trying to find where Christian lives. I'm really concerned about him. Oh, but like, oh, what's up? And I'm like, oh, we were streaming, he had a bit of a fall, and he's really hurt, and I just want to check on him. And people are like, oh, he lives here. And you're like, mother, don't tell him. Anyway, so what we can do here is we can actually just run our start PS job now. So we can actually, no, you can run it. You're running it. So we can just for our computer name, we can just use anything. We're just trying to validate to make sure that the code runs. So we can just go, yep, start PS job. Oh, sorry, start PS remote job. Yeah, you can actually tab complete as well.
Yeah, where's the fun in that? I mean, I do the same thing when I'm writing out the code for configuring the routers and switches. I write it out in full.
Yep. Yeah, it's good to understand, like especially when you obviously when you're configuring switching, configure terminal. I'm like, nah, config T, stuff that.
Yeah, no, people just conf T. Although when I'm doing the copying,
yeah,
when you're copying from running config to startup config, I don't write out the whole thing.
I'm just like WR.
No,
I'm like WR. I'm like, I don't want to fucking write that right running. Just deal with it. All right. Anyway, yep. So you see how like it actually is prompting you for the computer name?
Yep.
That's because when the mandatory parameter is true, it will forcibly ask you. But what I want you to do is I actually want you to define the parameters. So I want you to put them all in line. So sorry. So you're right there already. So you can go start PS remote job, but I want you to specify the parameters.
Oh. So,
remember you got tab, like tab's there to help you. So, and remember, I want you to put values for after each of them as well. Like we're gonna, obviously.
So that would be
just call it test. Yeah, it's just call it test because we don't actually have a computer name that we're targeting at the moment. We're just testing to actually see if the function even calls. Knowing my luck, my proxy's probably gonna block it for some dumb reason.
Okay, and then we've got code.
PowerShell script.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So, oh no, mate. You remember you got to make sure it's hyphenated. There's no spaces on it.
Yeah. No, yeah. I don't know why that space is there.
So you can remember hit tab. You can space it out.
Yeah.
All right. Remember this is PowerShell script. So when we're defining a script block, we denote that. We denote a curly brace. So what I want you to do is now just do a write host inside of that and just do a hello world.
Just because it wants me to go lowercase, it seems.
That's PowerShell's IntelliSense won't work inside a script block. Just FYI, like it won't work inside a script block. So, and then we got our final one, which is our URI, and our URI is on line 270.
Yeah, and that is also a string.
That'll be a string. That's what we defined it as. It's a type string. Yep, and then close that string. Yep. All right, you're hitting enter. I'm not. All right, well, it did something.
We just don't know what.
Well, what this is the best part is that we actually can. Well, it hadn't come back, and that was. Oh, should have run an output. It might have. I think it's crashed on the server side, but we can check it. So what we can do is I'm just gonna have a quick look on my side and see if there's any. We can actually see any sort of execution. Oh, yeah, we're not going to see any sort of execution until we configure application insights.
So I'm gonna need to rerun that.
Yeah, let me give you 2 seconds. I'm just gonna put it in a southeast. There's actually no application insight in like. Okay, fantastic. Just
No,
gonna
you got Australia East.
is there?
Yeah, down the bottom.
Oh, I was having again. I'm having a man look.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm just configure application insights. So what this does is this will actually, from my perspective, I can see whether the function has been called. Like, while we're doing that, what I'm going to do is let's chuck a debugger on it. So if we go to the, we're going to actually drop some breakpoints on this because I actually want to see what's going on here. So I want to drop a breakpoint on 262. So when we rerun this, I'm just going to rerun this. Well, that's not going to work, Michael, because it's start with debugging. Okay, so now we've started with debugging. If I rerun this, yep, now we're hit our we've hit our breakpoint. So you can see on can you see the debug menu at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
You can see on the left hand side we've got our parameters, we've got our test, we've got our parameter, we're passing in 3 values, which is our method is a post.
Oh, hang on. Are you talking? Have you got an output for that?
So if you looking at under the debug.
No, I can't see the output there.
Oh, okay.
I'll just go to your page.
I'll just do this. I'll just do this. This makes it way easier for you to be able to see it. So what you can. Oh, don't tell me that's fine. It's still running. Oh no. So if we so you can see on parameter. So this is our parameters. We've got our method as post. That's bang on. So we're gonna have a look at our body. This is the one I'm really interested in. There is nothing in the body. That can't be right. There is. What's going on there?
Does the server
Oh
side
wait.
have a convert from
Wait. Oh yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about me. I don't know why that doesn't print out.
Because they didn't call it params, they called it param.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. So you can see there's the body. So we can see that we've successfully encoded to base 64. Oh, sorry, we've converted it to base 64. We've converted the body to JSON. So that's pretty much it. Like that's from an invoke request. That's all we really need to do. And obviously we've got all this extra supporting stuff like TLS 1.2, things like that, just so that PowerShell doesn't have any issues. That should be fine. So if we go back to, I'm just gonna try and get back to application insights. Application insights, yes. Collecting significant data set. App is offline or application insights. SDKs. Let's have a quick look at app insights.
Well, it does look like it's doing things.
Effective availability tests will run from additional IP ranges. Okay, that's good to know. What we can do now is we can actually step now. So we're just going to step that value. Let's just step over. So I've just run an invoke REST method. That's just pretty much going to finish it out. We actually didn't get any callback, but that's fine because I actually want to see what's going on in the application insight side. Did you actually find anything? I think it's still collecting. I have a sneaky suspicion I need to specify the content type. I just have this feeling like I have to specify the content type. I'm gonna try. Like the thing is the invoke rest method never returned an error, which is
Yep.
like it didn't return anything. It's just a. I'll just make sure. I'm just gonna do this. Like I'm 100% confident that it didn't return anything. Um. So like so. Um. What I'm thinking of doing. This is why we do not make production changes on the back half of any sort of schedule time. It's because it never works. And then you spend the next 4 hours troubleshooting it. It's like that's the rule of thumb. You never make production changes on a Friday because no one wants to work on a Saturday. That's a high
Not
risk.
unless you want some overtime or you're just masochistic.
Yeah, I was gonna say just masochistic. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, yeah. I just have a sneaky suspicion it's gonna be content type. Let's grab that. I'm just having like I've just got this feeling. Um, I always forget. I'm gonna misspell this, so I'm just gonna make sure I spell this correctly by doing that. So what the content type basically says, it's an instruction to the API endpoint to say, "Hey, I'm JSON."
Okay.
That's it. Like so, it's the body of me is JSON, and it just helps distinguish between different types of like formats. So you got obviously UTF-8, XML, JSON, clear text, binary, things like that. So let's rerun it, see what happens. So if we go back to the debug, start debugging. We're in debug mode. Let's call it again. Let's step. Oh, we'll just F11 it. See what happens. Okay, so it didn't fail, but if we dump out result, there's nothing there. So that leads me to believe that there is some obvious. I think what's happening is I haven't done something on the bot side. Oh, sorry, the bot side, the Azure function side, which I need to have a I need to troubleshoot. There is a
But not today.
there is a blop there. There is a blip. It's a request. There is a request there, but it is still requested. Like it is still collecting data. So I'm I'm thinking I might just leave it here today. But let me this is one of the things with application insights in Azure. It is amazing. Yep, there we go. There's our little request. I think that's there's a no failed request. Okay, so what we can do there is actually go have a look at these requests performance. So if I have a look at this request overall sample, it should be able to give me the sample data. There's any failures? There's no failure. Oh, there is a failure. No, the count is failed, but there's a count of 1. How does that work?
Because it's received one request, but it didn't fail.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'm kind of like, it doesn't make sense. And then you've kind of clarified it.
Well, I assume so. But then why would that be under the failures tab?
That's what I mean. Like, I used to, like, this is the problem. I don't use this often, but like, when I did, I was getting like, you could drill down so well into, the service response time is really good. Like, actually, I might be able to get the information now. I just need to see the request come through. Activity. No, I think the activity log's like the audit log. Yes, it's an audit log. Yeah, okay. Browsers, performance, users, funnels, retention, impact. No, where is it? Metrics. I know there's a way that you can actually like drill down into the requests and work out what's going on there. I just can't remember, like, I haven't used it in so long, but when I had, I just like thought this was the best thing ever. What we can actually do Yeah, I think what we might do is just leave it for now, and we'll come back.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. Here we go. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. So we get our request. And you can see here, it's just giving us all this awesome information I know now, like event times, request name, successful response time. Here's our request, local send, function was called, original format executed, succeeded. Okay, it did run. It was a post, fantastic, log levels, information category, host result, and time related items. Okay, cool. So let's have a look at everything here. Client address, Queensland. Operation names, performance, yeah, category hash results. Okay, well there was no errors. That's actually quite interesting. So if there was no errors, the code ran, which is
Well,
a
we
good thing.
haven't actually written much on the server side, have we? We've got local send, but now we need a local receive.
Well, the thing is that we should have been getting a response back because in here,
We should have at least gotten an in progress.
Oh, I think I know why, but I don't think it's legit. At the end of the day, though, there should be a way we can actually. Is there any errors and warnings console? Nope. Okay. We can actually log as well. This is one of the really cool things is that I don't know how to do it in PowerShell, but within C# you can actually connect to the logging service and you can just literally just write logs. And it made troubleshooting so easy because you're just like, here's the exact error, and you could obviously that was log shipped to automate to logging analytics. So, actually, was it? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Sorry, no. It was just stored on blob, but it basically was just allowed for really cool things. So we got the parameters, but we never actually converted it. Before we go, I just want to do one more thing. Like I'm pushing it. I've got to like look after Bob, but I just want to do like this. I just want to do this. I do have a sneaking suspicion. It's either that or I do believe functions have request response. It could even be the fact that I'm not setting it correctly and I need to set the PowerShell. Actually, I think I know what it is. I just need to function PowerShell using PowerShell modules and functions. I think I need to define the response. Like there's, I think, because you know how we had the body up the top here?
Yep.
I think I need to specify it in there. So I've got the post method is request, but because we did a return rather than a write output, I think that's going to work. So if we resave that, we just run that and then rerun this again, I think we're going to get a response. Nope. Really? Because it's doing a write output unless I might need to specify a function. Oh, sorry, I might need to specify a I'm just having a quick look at the code here. I might need to specify the response write output. No, here's it doing a write output. That should be fine. Let's just do something else. Let's just do a before we go, I just want to quickly just do a quick test. Yeah, I was going to do that, and then what I'm going to do, because I'm thinking, like it's running the PowerShell, that's fine. Did we? Yeah, we're fine there. We're fine there. Fine there. We're fine there. I'm just gonna do this. Like it's gonna be a little weird, but just hear me out for a sec. Just gonna do this. Save.
Hey, you're the coding master extraordinaire. I'm
I won't say extraordinaire. I'm
still
just kind
learning.
of troubleshooting. this is the best part of it. Just F11. I don't think that's gonna work. No, that didn't work. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. I think I'm gonna need to troubleshoot this offline.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Well, the thing is that it's working. Like we can see that through application insights. Yeah, but yeah, pretty
Well, we've
much,
gotten
mate.
somewhere.
Yeah, we've basically gotten. We're making progress. So, oh, here we go. We've got some good logging. Here we go. We've got some really good logging. Oh, look at that. Function completed. Hello world. It is running, and it is doing a write output.
Yeah, but the results param block is blank.
I think I need to specify a variable. I don't think I, I just got this feeling that I need to specify a variable to write out, but I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, let's leave it there for today. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you really enjoyed that. That was a really good session. Thanks Christian for joining us. I hope you learnt a lot as well. It's always good when we're doing our one-on-ones. So, and Anthony, yeah, thanks for watching as well. And yeah, thanks guys for on Twitch who are watching as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, Christian, anything you want to add, or you pretty much
Comments, any feedback you may have about the videos, and tune in next week, barring any mishaps that may occur.
barring any mishaps, yeah. I was going to say, let's hope this time we're actually going to get an execution. 99% of code is no, I say 99% of code's troubleshooting, 1% is actually writing. So yeah, nah, it's not really. But anyway, yeah, thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, leave a like, comment, and hope to subscribe. And yeah, hope to see you guys next time. Anyway, bye for now. See ya.
See ya.